Hello, welcome back to another episode of the Evolution of Mom. I hope you enjoyed last week's episode on are you falling into the trap of I'll be happy when? A lot of things I base, a lot of things I do are based on health, happiness, and of course, hormones play a huge role. And when I started talking about that last time, I realized that I hadn't really super gone deep into why that is. When Sharice and I got started, we kept giving you little bits of our stories, but never actually dove in to the depths that we had intended. Now that it's just me, I feel like it's time to give a little backstory on why I am the way that I am, why I do what I do, why health and hormones and happiness and holistic living through external and internal environment and bringing those all together mean so much to me. Going back to when Amy was a teenager, I started having a lot of symptomatic periods, very symptomatic. And of course, when you reach that time in your life, it's a lot of, okay, well, you're just becoming a woman. This is very normal for women. And as time went on and as my symptoms persisted of a lot of cramps and PMS and mood swings and, extreme pain during my cycles, basically every extreme hormone symptom you can think of, teenager Amy had. And when I started asking for help and started feeling like maybe this wasn't normal, maybe this is something that I should ask for help with, I got met with a lot of, oh, Amy, this is just such an exciting time. You're becoming a woman. Or my favorite, oh, these are just normal female problems. And I think that that's the one that stuck with me the most when someone, a medical professional, told me, there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing we can do. These are just normal female problems. So because you're a woman, Amy, you have to deal with all of these things. These are very normal in your life every month. Oh, not every month. Wait until you hit menopause. And then it's this whole other thing. I don't even know what I was expected to say or do in that moment with this healthcare professional. Like, oh, chronic pain and shit like this for the rest of my life. Like, awesome. Thank you. High five, doc, feeling good. Like, no, I felt the complete opposite. I felt very unheard. I felt broken. I felt like there was something wrong with me. And I knew a lot of the other girls my age were dealing with their own issues of this transition in their life, but they seemed to be coping just a little bit better than I was. And as time went on, I really started to come to terms with the fact that, you know what? Mine is very extreme. Mine is different than a lot of the other girls around me. Yes, they have cramps. Yes, they're getting some mood swings and things, but I'm starting to have pain even when I don't have my period. I'm starting to have extreme mood swings even outside of the regular PMS time. And the big thing was when I started having extreme pain, in my abdomen and around my ovary areas and through like my pelvic region, down my legs, even during the time when I shouldn't be having pain, according to the normal female problems. And so this is when I really started getting more serious about asking for help and really standing my ground of, hey, you know what? I actually don't think this is normal. I think this is something a little bit more than that. And I'm, deeply struggling with it at this time. And it took a long time. It took a long time for me to receive help, which is the norm. It takes an average of like 6 to 9 years right now for women to get a diagnosis with a hormonal condition, which is crazy because 1 in 6 women right now have a hormonal a hormonal condition like endometriosis, which I was eventually diagnosed with, or PCOS or infertility, adenomyosis. There's so many, you can go down all the different diagnoses, but 1 in 6 have these conditions. I think it's 1 in 3, maybe 1 in 2 that have extreme, I'm calling extreme hormonal imbalance conditions in the realm of what is considered normal. Most women have cramps. Most women have headaches. Most women have the list of symptoms that are considered normal female problems. But over time, I not only came to learn that those are actually signals that your body is sending out that it needs some support hormonally, that none of those are actually normal, they're just common. So a bunch of that kind of realization is where I came to terms with just because something is common doesn't make it normal or okay. So it took a long time for me to get a diagnosis. And once I did, I had a surgery, first of a few, to go in, and it's a very common surgery for women with endometriosis. They go in, cauterize out all the excess endometrial tissue, and you go from there. It comes back. Endometriosis is like a benign cancer. It's cells that proliferate and grow outside of where they're supposed to be. And so, it continues as time goes on. And from then on, it was specialist appointments, it was surgeries, it was a lot of medications and hormone therapies. And it took a long time for me to realize that I needed to make a change. Not only was I having all of the symptoms of my condition, I now was gaining symptoms from all the medications that I was on. And so it took me, a good moment of clarity and realization of, I think I need a moment. I think I need to step back and take a break from all of these medications because I don't even know what's serving me anymore. What's a side effect? What's a symptom? So I went safely off of everything, started from scratch, and started looking more holistically, started looking outside of Western medicine, which I do have a place for in my heart. I respect the system so much, but it is a very reactive system. It's not a very proactive system. It's also more of a band-aid system instead of a, hey, let's look at the root cause. Let's treat the symptom instead of getting down into the nitty gritty of the root cause. They're the ones that like to press the button on the fire alarm instead of see where the fire is, for example. Not all the time. Again, so much respect for that system because it's saved my life more times than I'd like to reminisce on, but it can be paired with other modalities. There are so many things out there for us that are more holistic, more natural, more of a full body approach than just, hey, you have hormone issues. Let's look at your bits and not talk about anything else. Whereas when I started reaching out elsewhere to naturopaths, acupunctures, and different therapies like that, it was, hey, let's talk about other parts of your body that affect your hormone system that then affect your bits. And it was this beautiful outlook of whole body health. And that's what really started shifting my perspective was, oh my gosh, like my gut health matters for my hormones. My liver health matters for my hormones. My stress, my sleep, all of these things matter for my hormones. When I do a lot of my public speaking and things on women's health now, that's my big platform, is that your hormone health is about so much more than just your bits. It's your liver, your gut, your stress, your sleep. So I do talk about that quite often. And when I went to a naturopath and he started talking to me about being a whole bodied being instead of just pieces of me that everyone liked to focus on previously, it was a beautiful experience. I felt heard. I felt understood. I didn't feel so alone. And I'm sure any of you out there dealing with these kind of chronic illness problems, those are the big emotions behind that, aren't they? You feel very alone, very isolated, very unheard and disempowered. And so I can't say enough about pushing through and fighting for your health, because that's what you gain along the way, is this voice, this empowerment, this feeling of being heard. It shifts the whole narrative that maybe you've been exposed to when you can continue to fight for your health and continue to take your health into your own hands. Because that's another thing I've learned along the way is at the end of the day, I am 100% responsible for what's going on in my body. Yes, I can partner with different modalities. I can get advice from other people, but at the end of the day, I choose what goes in, on, and around my body. I choose what therapies align with me, what prescriptions, what anything aligns with me and what doesn't. That was a big one that made me feel I had more control over my health, was taking those kind of steps and empowering myself with knowledge about my body. Now, I come from a background of anatomy and physiology. Now, I did my RMT training. And so that is very heavily focused on learning about the body. So as I was going through these, two journeys of educating myself through anatomy and physiology, through my RMT and my health challenges, they came together very beautifully because I learned all about the endocrine system. And the endocrine system regulates and processes and produces all of your hormones. And then when I started learning about my external environment for my health, I started hearing words like endocrine disruptors and carcinogens. And when I learned about endocrine disruptors being things that come in and totally disrupt your endocrine system, I was like, oh, it's like this light bulb moment. I was like, wait, I know what your endocrine system does. I know that it produces and, regulates all of your hormones. I have a hormonal condition. What if I'm using all of these endocrine disruptors? And what if not using them could be the next step in this holistic health journey I'm on? And you know what it was? I was using a ton of endocrine disruptors in my external environment. A lot of women's products are full of endocrine disruptors, a lot of cleaners, all sorts of things. Anything that says fragrance is a big one. Fragrance is just full of carcinogens and endocrine disruptors. And I mean, an average of 300 to 500, I believe, a day for women, just with their morning beauty routine. That gets put on their body. Oh, it's a lot, to an average of 5 pounds a year built up in your bodies. If you haven't looked up the term body burden or toxic overload in your body, it's a term worth getting familiar with, because that's exactly what that is. It's body burden. It's 5 pounds of endocrine disruptors and carcinogens built up in your body over a year for however many years you've been using them. Most of us since we were a baby, because the most popular baby company products in the world are chocked full of these things, which I could go off on a total rant about. But, baby steps introducing you to my story and my journey and the things that I have discovered and been through. But it was learning that I had control over my external environment, control over my internal environment, and how they work together to support my hormone condition. That is what got me to the space that I'm in now. From a space of disempowerment, feeling unheard, feeling alone, and being so sick, to a place of empowerment, self-advocacy, strength, not having chronic pain anymore, and having a deeper understanding of how to make my body work for me, I think is a really good way to put it, because our bodies absolutely can work against us or they can work for us, but our bodies can only work with what we are giving it. We have to provide the healthy space it needs so it can thrive. So your body is doing its best. Whatever you're going through right now, your body is doing its best with what you are giving it or not giving it, but with the environment that you're creating for it internally and externally. And so, as overwhelming as thinking you have complete control over your health is, it's also very empowering, because you do have control of what comes in and out of your home. You have control of what your household environment looks like. You have control of what your internal mental environment looks like. I'm not saying it's easy, but there are tools and things that you can do to support that space regularly. Stress was a huge one. Learning all about stress and how it affects my hormones and how it affects most women's hormones was another huge one for me. Your stress runs your life and runs your hormones. Running in that space of fight or flight, that sympathetic nervous system is depleting your natural progesterone. Because when you are running in that space, you're producing cortisol, and your body needs cortisol to keep you in that space. And when it runs out, it takes from your natural progesterone, converts it back into cortisol so you can keep running that stress cycle. And then you're not sleeping, which means you're not getting enough melatonin, which isn't combating the excess estrogen in your body like melatonin beautifully does. It's a whole vicious cycle that we can get into. And I mean, if that's something that interests you to learn more about, I'm happy to dive into that space with you. I love having tea talks, I call them, with women, where I can educate and empower you with knowledge about your bodies, about your hormones, because I think a big mistake in society and in the world right now is that women grow up not knowing about their bodies, not knowing about their hormone system, not knowing about the tools that they can use to help them thrive within their health as women. It's another rant I could go off of, but I think we'll break it into small little chunks here. But gaining that strength of self-advocacy, of belief, of mindset shifts and things. I mean, whole body health is a journey. It really is. And I would love to tell you that health is a linear journey. I'd love to tell you it's just like this. You make a decision and then you go all the way to the top, but it's more of an adventure. It's an up and down kind of thing. You discover this thing that's going to serve you, and then it's like the next layer comes off and you have to take a deep dive and figure out what that is, and then come up, go. It's a whole thing, but that journey is possible. And not only is it possible, it's completely worth doing. You are so worthy of going from a space of not feeling healthy, of not feeling vibrant, of not feeling joyous, of feeling alone and disempowered and unheard, to a higher space, to a space of feeling vibrancy, joy, happiness, love, being an advocate for yourself, feeling powerful and strong in your own body and in your own environment. That journey is 100% worth taking, and it is 100% possible, but you have to believe that it's possible. You have to believe that it's not just for someone like me, it's for someone like you too. This journey is absolutely for everybody, and I can't stress enough how beautiful the journey is. And that if I can take that journey, and if I am worthy of this health and being pain-free and being now free of all of the normal female problems that are so common but not normal, then so are you. So are you. And one of the best things to empower you is knowledge, is linking arms with someone who is on the same journey as well, or can guide you in that space. Oh, it's been a long journey. I started it when I was 15 and I'm 34 now. So it's been a journey of discovery, of adventure, of learning, of making mistakes. But in the last few years, what's really shifted for me and how I help other women now is mindset around health, because I can absolutely spout, intelligent things all day that sound really smart about your body, about your hormones, about your endocrine system and all of these things. But at the end of the day, mindset and belief is what matters. If you believe that you have to have a life of cramps and periods and headaches, and I mean, you have to have periods. I take that one back, but unhappy periods, then that's the shift that has to be made first. That just because it's common doesn't make it normal and okay. And so there's all of these beautiful components that you can dive into that all come together to equal a healthy, happy, pain-free period. But it's not linear. And it's more holistic than I think we ever give it credit for. I don't know what else to say about this journey in this time, but it is worth taking. It is worth diving into the things that are maybe taking away your vibrancy and your joy. And for a lot of women, for, at least 7 days out of a month, or if you're dealing with extreme PMS, maybe 2 weeks out of a month. I mean, that's half the month. You don't have time for that. You don't have time for that kind of negativity in your life. So if that is something that you are dealing with, it's absolutely worth diving into what you can do to make those shifts, because you don't have time for that kind of negativity in your life, and you are so worthy of diving into a space of health and vibrancy and joy and stepping away from things that are no longer serving you, even if it's considered normal female problems. Don't let people tell you that. If you know you're not feeling good, don't let people tell you otherwise. You know your body better than anyone else. Yes, someone might have more mechanical knowledge than you do, but you know how your body feels better than anybody. And that's the best space that you can start from, is that you know if something's off, you know if something can be better, and you can decide to make that change. So, a little bit about me and my hormone journey was, taking the steps, figuring out those things that were going to serve me, letting go of the things that no longer did, and being open to learning more about myself and more about this holistic lifestyle. So if you have any questions, if you want one of those tea time talks with me, I am 100% available and here to do that with you. You can vent. I mean, sometimes it's just so beautiful to vent to someone about your ridiculously raging hormones, you hot mess, beautiful being. Sometimes you just need a space to let that all out to someone who can relate and someone who can understand and hold a very empathetic ear. I'm here for you. I would love to book a tea time talk with you. And I hope you're having a beautiful day. Thank you again so much for being here. I appreciate you and your time. We'll dive into more next time. Bye.